This is just going to be a short video about demand. Start off with definitions. Demand is the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing and able to buy at a given price at a given time. The able part is very important here because the demand will not be effective if you want to buy something but are unable to buy it. So you must be able to buy too. We assume in economics that all consumers seek to maximise the welfare, the satisfaction they get for every pound spent. And this means that as the price of a product rises, they will buy less of that product because they're getting less welfare per pound spent on that item. So it becomes a thing that they want to spend money on less. Okay. So as price rises, the quantity demanded falls. Okay. So that we've got this negative correlation between price and the quantity demanded. We can show that negative correlation on a demand schedule like this one, where we've got the price rising from $1 to $2 to $3 to $4 to $5, and the quantity demanded falling from 25 down to 5 as a result of that. We can also show that correlation on a demand curve. Here's a picture of a demand curve. As you will see, it is downward sloping, showing that negative correlation. Here we can see that as the price falls from P1 to P2, the quantity demanded rises from Q1 to Q2. That's a movement along the demand curve, and we call that an extension because the quantity demanded has increased. So as the price falls, the quantity demanded increases, we move along the demand curve, and that's called an extension. Here we've got the opposite. The price is rising and the quantity demanded is falling, so we're moving along the demand curve, but this now is called a contraction because it reduces the quantity demanded. On this diagram, there's been an increase in the quantity demanded from Q1 to Q2, but the price has stayed the same. The demand curve has moved outwards. There's been an increase in demand at the given price. The demand curve has shifted to the right. So something other than price must have changed to cause that increase in demand, to cause that shift. Here, the opposite has happened. The demand curve has shifted inwards. There's been a decrease in demand. The price has stayed the same, but now consumers are only willing and able to buy Q2 rather than Q1 that they were able to buy before. So there's been a decrease in demand, an inward shift, a negative shift, a shift to the left. We'll move on to the determinants of demand now. These are the things that can cause the level of demand to change. First of all, we've dealt with, or we will deal with, price. When the price changes, that causes us to move along the demand curve, causing either an extension or a contraction in demand. Remember, if the price goes up, there'll be a contraction, and if the price goes down, there will be an extension because of this negative correlation. But other factors, other determinants of demand will cause the demand curve to shift. An increase in income will cause the demand curve to shift out to the right. An increase in tastes and fashions will increase demand. So if something becomes fashionable, the demand for it will increase, shifting the demand curve out to the right. If the price of a complement goes up, we want to buy less of the good in question. So for example, if the price of butter were to rise, we would buy less bread. So if the price of a complement goes up, the demand curve for the good in question will shift inwards. If the price of a substitute were to rise, so if the price of Mars bars were to rise, we would want to buy more Snickers. So therefore, the demand curve for Snickers would shift outwards. It would cause an increase in demand. Finally, a successful advertising campaign would shift the demand curve out to the right.